This video is brought to you by Displate. Stick around to hear more about the discount that they have offered to the entire UEG community. Also, this video will be available ad-free and in audio podcast form on locals.com, a Patreon alternative for monthly subscribers. YouTube advertising is unreliable at times, and Locals will help transition away from that. There is also merch discounts, topic polls, and other incentives on that platform for paid members, but that's it. I'll get started now. Okay, today I want to talk about FaZe, because FaZe Clan have demonstrated themselves to be financial parasites whose actions directly and negatively impact small businesses in America. This is one of those videos where the backlash could easily outweigh the support owing to the size and cult-esque nature of the FaZe fanbase, but hopefully anyone watching will have a rational perspective that, at the very least, allows me to make my case. In order to accurately lay down the chain of events, we first need to understand some background. FaZe Clan, formerly FaZe Snipers, is a professional esports and entertainment business operating out of Los Angeles, California. According to Forbes, FaZe had a net worth of $240 million in 2019, and despite wider industry skepticism over the longevity and viability of esports in general, whether or not it's a bubble and where that might lead, there is no denial that FaZe, from a fiscal perspective, currently have become highly successful. Now, establishing that FaZe in 2019 was already worth $240 million or more with highly influential creators on their roster, we need to jump forward in time to 2020. Early 2020 saw financial and market turmoil that will undoubtedly go down in history as some of the most unpredictable months the modern world has ever seen. The coronavirus pandemic swept across the globe with a resulting wave of lockdowns that put a dampener on most industries and businesses. The thing is, this was not uniform across all sectors, and certain digital entertainment industries actually saw a massive increase to their bottom line. From the Washington Post, giants of the video game industry have thrived in the pandemic. Can the success continue? The video game industry continues to see an impressive jump in both revenue and attentiveness to esports from major media companies as coronavirus-related restrictions roll into May, keeping millions of people at home and searching for new forms of entertainment. How about Variety? Quote, coronavirus drives 30% surge in video on-demand viewing for March, end quote. This particular piece centers on more traditional cable viewing and streaming services like Netflix and Hulu, but running in tandem to that are sites like Twitch and YouTube, with additional video streaming content which also saw a massive spike. According to JP Morgan and a briefing on media consumption in the age of COVID-19, quote, there has never been a point in history where so much original content is available, notes Quadrani. Amid the global pandemic, Verizon has reported that video streaming is up 12%. Quote, we think the ongoing spread of COVID-19 will lead to higher engagement and better subscriber growth for streaming services around the world near term, end quote. Now, some people may draw a correct distinction between most media definitions of streaming services and Twitch or YouTube, around which the bulk of FaZe Clan's business operations currently revolve. However, if we transition to raw stats here, we can see a very clear picture begin to form. As the coronavirus hit, Steam, the world's largest PC and video game dispersal platform currently, at the moment, began to see record numbers of concurrent players. Twitch, another prominent video game-oriented platform and one that also sees a huge number of FaZe Clan roster streamers, began to see incredible gains from March through into May as the virus hit peak stages. From the BBC, additionally, lockdown and loaded, coronavirus triggers video game boost. Reading further, the makers of popular Call of Duty, COD, and FIFA say player numbers have soared during the pandemic. That's boosted the financial performance of Activision Blizzard and Electronic Arts for the first 3 months of this year. The gaming industry has seen sales hit records in recent weeks as more people turn to their entertainment services. Activision Blizzard, the company behind the COD series, said an average of 407 million people had played its games online each month in the first quarter of this year. Meanwhile, the latest COD game, Warzone, has racked up more than 60 million players since its launch in March. Hopefully, this begins to demonstrate that the digital entertainment industry, primarily video games, have not suffered during the pandemic. There is immeasurable data to prove that video game streaming, content creation, and digital entertainment services actually benefited from the coronavirus lockdowns, at the very least for large organizations, among which FaZe would easily be categorized. I was even able to reference a direct quote from my partner manager at YouTube, which stated, typically there would be a big boost on weekends, but during COVID, we see those numbers every single day. Before going any further, time for today's video sponsor, Displate, but don't skip because they have given a hefty discount with the link down below in the description. It will be active for 7 days and give 20% off your entire order while also benefiting the channel. My walls in my apartment are currently covered with Displates. I obviously got mostly video game related ones, but they have over 1 million different designs in various sizes. I effectively had a beige cube before this, so I'm thrilled to have partnered up with them. The magnetic mounting system is really cool, and I can just switch them around to different spots whenever I want to, as well as adjust them slightly here and there to make sure everything is straight and level without ever having to remount anything at all. The print quality, texture, materials, and presentation, everything is just awesome. Again, link down below for 20% off your order, which will only be active for 7 days after this video goes live. They have excellent stuff, so at the very least, check out their catalog a bit, and just in case you see something you want. Big thank you to Displate for sponsoring the channel. So what now? Well, now we need to draw a timeline. March 16th, 2020, FaZe unveils their new extravagant $30 million mansion with a monthly rent of $80,000. They advertise this with flair and passion while bragging about the private lake and other excessive amenities. April 2020, FaZe announces the closure of a $40 million capital raise / partnership with Jimmy Iovine and celebrity-backed e-commerce platform Network. To be thorough, this deal was likely negotiated a few months prior, but in the climate of coronavirus fear and struggle during April of 2020, FaZe Clan was announcing and executing a $40 million funding initiative, and 1 month prior, again, advertising a new $30 million mansion in California. That's an important detail, California. Keep that in mind. Jump ahead not even 1 month, and that's 1 month later from the acquisition of a $30 million mansion and less than 1 month from their announcement of the $40 million funding round, and FaZe Clan Incorporated is approved, April 27th, 2020, for $1 to $2 million from the PPP Fund for coronavirus relief. That is the Paycheck Protection Program for small business loans. This is where we start to see the dots connecting. The Paycheck Protection Program was a lifeline for small businesses, not $100 million entertainment collectives with clout-chasing teens and immature, fiscally irresponsible members. FaZe is fresh off the heels of a $30 million mansion, where members were even smashing computer monitors for the reveal skit, and immediately afterward, while they operate in an industry simultaneously witnessing unparalleled growth, they take $1 to $2 million from the Small Business PPP Fund. Here's why it matters. The Paycheck Protection Fund ran out of money within 13 days of launching, and according to all current estimates, over 100,000 small businesses have shut their doors forever. Now, the fund was quickly somewhat refilled, but the same issue became a recurrent theme. April 29th, the second round of funding was quickly running dry, and 1.7 million small businesses, 1.7 million, were waiting desperately for assistance. FaZe, during a pandemic that was benefiting their business sector after acquiring a $30 million mansion and closing a $40 million round of funding, was taking millions of dollars of that money that could have saved dozens, even hundreds of legitimate small businesses. But we're not even close to done yet. FaZe does technically meet the standards for PPP loan approval. However, by most other metrics and most other sources, they are not classified as a small business. The issue is small businesses do not have a one-size-fits-all definition. Some industries and sectors define size by number of employees, others by annual revenue. And if you hone in on the number of employees and their roster, FaZe does not exceed the 500 employee cutoff for the PPP loan program, and thus they did qualify. Digging deeper, though, a House Oversight Committee concluded that thousands of PPP loans were awarded to companies that should not have even received them. In a report released by the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis, loans were distributed to companies that didn't even fill out complete applications at times, companies that had been flagged for significant performance and integrity issues, and companies that had been banned entirely from federal contracts. These were loans that deprived small businesses from getting the money that they needed. And I would like to focus in specifically on the words significant performance and integrity issues. Here's the thing. For any existing small business revenue metric that is not correlated to the PPP fund, FaZe would exceed the earnings threshold. As an example, their official Clan YouTube channel alone, by itself, averages about 1 million views per day. Depending on advertising, that could be anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 per day, which factored out over time would be somewhere in the vicinity of $1.2 million annually. As a conservative estimate, not even counting sponsorships and all other forms of income. That is just the FaZe YouTube. Nothing from member YouTube channels, Twitch channels, tournament winnings, merchandise, direct ad buys, and so many other factors. But to really demonstrate this, we need to go back to May of 2019, where video game megastar Tfue sued FaZe over their oppressive contract. This entire saga could be an internet historian piece, if we're being honest, but I won't go through every detail here. The points of interest are fairly simple. Tfue sued FaZe because of their greedy contract, among other things. FaZe countersued Tfue for breaching confidentiality, dispersing industry secrets, and besmirching their name, among other charges. And these lawsuits culminated in a judge dismissing 5 of the 6 claims and motions FaZe had filed in New York. One of those claims was that the California Talent Agency Act, or TAA, should not apply because FaZe does not operate out of California. Remember that $30 million mansion where all of their top players and leadership are right now? Yeah. Another claim was that Tfue had dispersed industry secrets, which the judge threw out because, get this, I'm not even kidding, FaZe had not properly understood or characterized what trade secrets even mean in their industry. And there were numerous other items, but the most important was the TAA, because FaZe is not a registered talent agency in California with the proper paperwork to defend themselves. This led to a California court judge in mid-July who also dismissed the case and sent it back to New York. It seemed, to be completely honest here from my own personal perspective, like no one even wanted anything to do with these kids, but the conclusions to draw here after they settled out of court in mid-2020 is that Tfue was seeking an exit from FaZe owing to their oppressively large revenue split, and in defense of themselves, FaZe argued that they are barely based out of California and that Tfue had dispersed industry secrets. And you can make your own decision regarding the phrase significant performance and integrity issues, but I would subjectively argue that FaZe have demonstrated exactly that. How about an even better example, though? In May of 2020, it was reported that FaZe Clan owner Ricky Banks had revealed that the organization previously owned and operated a CSGO skin gambling website. FaZe administration flew to a Caribbean island and, quote, paid the guy that runs the country $100,000, as Banks himself stated, hired guys with guns to guard them, and began to run a CSGO gambling site out of the location. He recalled publicly that they were earning over $200,000 per day on a Caribbean island estate with armed bodyguards, dodging the United States legal system to operate a skin gambling site, which violates various TOS agreements for publishing platforms like Valve. All of this circles back to the PPP loans, $30 million mansion with $80,000 monthly payments in California during the coronavirus pandemic, claiming that they don't operate out of California in a lawsuit, $40 million in funding from Network, also during the pandemic, hundreds of thousands of dollars per day from dodging the United States legal system. But then, at the height of the pandemic struggle, they get $1 to $2 million of the money needed by small businesses, desperately applied for and necessary to keep those families afloat. FaZe gets it instead, as the fund runs dry multiple times and over 100,000 businesses are forced to close forever. I've heard the argument recently that it's the government's fault, not theirs, and that is partially true, I guess, but in this unprecedented global economic catastrophe, the government was forced to respond as quickly as possible. This led to various loopholes and improper regulations on the loan funds. And who is truly at fault here? The government, who made some mistakes in classifying who should and should not receive aid, and by mistake, I mean they just made it too lenient in order to help more people faster, or the company with hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth, operating in an industry that is doing better than ever before, who circumvents the law, purchasing property worth tens of millions of dollars 1 month prior, and funding their global expansion to the tune of $40 million, all while small family businesses struggle day in and day out. And they still go and take from a fund that was meant to aid small businesses, while 1.7 million others who are truly struggling to get by wait in line desperately. FaZe should issue a public apology and return all of the funds immediately. The fact that this group of clout-chasing teens and spoiled California brats parasitically siphoned off money that would have helped hundreds of employees in other businesses weather the storm that they desperately needed to weather is unacceptable. It's a risky move, me criticizing a group this large and this popular, but they deserve every single word of it and should be ashamed of who they are and what they did, while businesses all around them who truly need the money go up in smoke. FaZe Clan, as they exist today, are parasitic financial leeches who deserve to be accurately criticized for their role in depleting a fund of crucial aid that was designed to help the American people and legitimate struggling small businesses by taking millions of it for themselves when they do not and did not need it. If you want to support, links down below, merch, locals, displayed, and another gaming YouTuber to support as well, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching and have a nice night.